So I want to just say thanks to everyone for being here. Thank you, Chris, for just putting it all together, coming up with this idea. And I am feeling comfortable here because I know we're all kind of in the same boat of facing the prospect of AI, what it has to offer, both for benefits and dangers. So it's just a real privilege to be here. I'm also amazed at all the great work that's happening in this community of practice, in the Bible translation world. So many organizations diving in and working hard. I'm grateful to Faith Comes by Hearing. They've created just a really great atmosphere for learning and experimenting with AI, and so I'm just really grateful for that. And finally, just trusting God to shepherd us as we work on this together, and trusting that just like he's always done, he's going to take care of us and help guide us along the right path. So let me just introduce myself a little bit. Who am I? I became a believer early in life, but embraced God in 1990 as my Savior and my Lord. Then I embraced my wife, Karen, as my wife in 1991. And we were blessed with these 4 young men. Karen and I joined Wycliffe USA in 1996, and then served with SIL, seconded to them for the SIL Malaysia branch. And we were there on site in Malaysia from 2001 until 2011, came back home, which is Albuquerque, and in 2013 got seconded to work here at Faith Comes by Hearing. I was the first that I know of Wycliffe person to be seconded to FCBH, and now I think there's 7 or 8. There's a handful, so it's a growing model. At Faith Comes by Hearing, my relevant role to this work was becoming the oral Bible translation project launch workshop trainer and training coordinator. I also worked as a render technician, helping to support OBT teams that are using the software. And most recently here in 2025 was asked to be the render software ambassador. And really that's just somebody who's trying to get an accurate perspective of what's happening on the field, and then bring that to the developers so we can be making render more suitable and more fit for actual use. Quick overview of what I'll cover. A brief intro to render itself. We'll look at AI-assisted access to the render knowledge base. I'll talk about how we are developing API access to the render data. And if we have time, we'll talk about this idea of an AI translation assistant. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end. But let me start with this disclaimer. I am a self-described cautious AI enthusiast. I am not an expert. Frankly, I don't think I'm even very well informed. This field is exploding, and you could be watching videos and reading articles ad nauseum. So because of that, I'm likely to maybe misspeak on something. So please forgive me for that. And indeed, I would invite you to put a post in the chat to correct anything you know that I've said which is wrong. And also questions. So maybe Chris, questions posted there we can address in the Q&A time. Chris, am I right that I'm aiming for about a half-hour presentation, which would put us at 40 minutes past the hour? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll aim for that. All right, and we're going to move quickly. So hopefully we'll be able to have enough time in Q&A to discuss things together. Also, I want to say don't panic. Render is not actually integrating AI into the render software in any way. It's a controversial thing. We're not going to marry the software to AI. Rather, we're just positioning render to support companion applications. Plus, Faith Comes by Hearing is working on some of its own companion applications. And so I'm hoping that can put some minds at ease. Okay, so what is Render? Very simply, it is a Windows program designed to facilitate oral Bible translation. It was designed to really be end user, offline focused, and that's a top priority for us. But at the same time, through synchronization, allowing for global collaboration. So it doesn't matter where a participant is in the world, they can connect and collaborate through synchronization. Render provides workflow and file management. So it's been designed to accommodate a variety of custom workflows that any team can implement as they see fit. And then it manages all the reference audio Bibles, the files for those that have been added to the project when it's created. And then it's going to manage all the target language recording files as they're made. And it's been designed to support best practices for Bible translation, because we want to make sure this helps people produce trustworthy translations. All right, so currently, the way to get access to the Render knowledge base is through a web application, just a website. And so this is a screenshot of that website. If you want to grab this QR code, then that'll bring you to it. And then maybe you can bookmark that if that's of interest to you. This website has the articles, which now are in English. There are only a few in other languages. But this website is also where you can submit a request for help from the Render technicians. And so that new support ticket button will help you do that. So people are using this site, but I think primarily to submit help tickets. And then finally, the search bar can help you narrow down your search to the articles relevant to the topic of interest. So the AI-assisted access is something I'm experimenting with. And so I've started working with the Google Notebook LM. And so this is just another Google service that you can get to, and I'll show you different ways to access notebooks. And so I've created a specific one called OBT Using Render Assistant. And so I'm going to move into just a live demonstration of that, just to give you a look at how to access it and what it has to offer. So let me bring that up here. All right, let me know if you can see this website. I'll move that into view. So this is accessed just from the website. But if you are in a browser and you look up to the right, you'll see an icon. It's different for each browser. Here for Chrome, it's a little monitor with a down arrow, and you can actually install the notebook because it's a web app. I've done that, and so let me just bring that one into view. If I can do that. And so here's that same notebook, but viewed through the web app. And I'll give you a look at the contents and how it's designed and how you as an end user would access it and work with it. The first thing is that it's powered by Google's Gemini LLM. And so in the center panel, you can see a typical AI chat experience. And so the beauty of this is you can dialogue with it in natural language and in any of 50 different languages. And so basically that's giving you access to all of those English Render help desk articles, but fed to you in whatever language you choose. The app will default to the language of your operating system on your device, including on a phone. It works really well on a phone because there you can actually use the speech to text feature of a phone. And so that way you can give it your prompts just by speaking to it, and it'll transcribe those, feed it to the LLM, and that's really a nice experience. On the left are the source documents that make up this notebook, and they're selectable. You can turn them off and then just choose one that you want to dialogue with. And you can type it in, or as I mentioned on the phone, you can speak to it. What are the qualities of a good Bible translation? So it's going to interrogate the source files. Let's see. Oh, looks like it didn't work too well. Oh, right. I didn't put the right one on there. I highlighted the wrong. So this is a perfect example of one of the beauties of this tool. I had highlighted the wrong file. I meant to highlight the Katie Barnwell's translation book. I highlighted the video and it said, hey, the sources you provided do not contain information about qualities of a good Bible translation. One of the problems with AI, as you know, is hallucinations. It'll go grab stuff that it thinks is relevant to your question. The beauty of this notebook design is that it constrains Gemini to only the content in the documents that you've provided. And if it doesn't find anything in those documents, it'll give you this response. Sorry, can't help you. So let me do that prompt again with the right book selected. All right, and so it'll give you a nice response. I won't read through it, but you can see clear, accurate, natural, and so forth. Again, the fact that you can just dialogue in natural language makes the content of the source files just so much more accessible. And it'll filter, it'll constrain its response to your prompt, and just, I really love that. The other thing about the design is on the right, and it's called the Studio. That Studio is created by the builder of the notebook, and that's me. And so it has various different learning aids that you can use. And so I've used those to produce a few files down here. I think I'll change my zoom just to make this easier to see. There's a few files down here created by these tools, one of which is an audio overview. And so that produces the podcast style engagement with the material in the source files. My favorite is this mind map down here. So this mind map just gives you this visual, I guess, experience with the content in the documents. And so you can drill down into the material based on this outline. And personally, I love this. I like to learn in this fashion. And so it's just a really neat feature of the notebooks. And really, they're designed, because of the name, you can see, for learning a topic or a subject. And so I've just created this one with all the materials that are relevant to Render and OBT. And so I'll close out this view and the web. So that just gives you a taste of this example, I'll call it, because there are many ways to do this, but this is one example of how to leverage AI to assist in a topic like this one, making certain content available to people. Yeah, let me just make sure my notes, I've copied everything or covered everything. And as I mentioned, I do enjoy its smartphone experience. It just, again, makes it even more accessible because of the natural language. You can speech to text and just talk to it. I like that. All right, so let me move on. Some of the pros and cons. More data is available than just in the help desk articles. Again, it's multilingual, natural language interaction. It reduces those hallucinations. And if it doesn't find relevant material in the source files, it says, sorry, can't help you. And the responses include citations. I didn't point that out. But in every paragraph within a response, it'll have a citation for even the page of the source file that it drew from for that response. And I like that a lot. And those learning aids that I highlighted. Some of the cons, it's text-based only, unless you're on a smartphone and you can use the speech-to-text. It's not a true chatbot. Initial testing reveals adoption barriers. So I've already been advertising this among certain groups of users, and they have not picked it up well. So something's wrong with this approach. People aren't adopting it as I would like to see. So I've got to discover what that is. And there's no API access yet to this tool. And that would be nice so that you can wrap it in some other larger AI workflow. So those are some of the pros and cons. If you want access to this particular notebook, go ahead and grab this QR code. And then, Chris, I assume the whole presentation will be available later, right? Great. Yeah. And so that people can either get it by the QR code.
That was a yes, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So, all right. Let's move on to probably the biggest development is this one. Faith Comes by Hearing is developing API access to the Render cloud storage of project data. And so this is now going to make it possible for programmers through API to get access to that data for whatever purposes. It's an exciting development that we hope will assist a lot of people in very creative ways to use AI to work with that data. Recently, I read this article from E10 Innovation Lab called "How Could We Accelerate Global Bible Translation If We Started with a Blank Slate?" I think it came out a week ago, maybe a little more. And in that, it identified one bottleneck: the scarcity of target language data. And so the article had this paragraph: many unreached communities lack existing scripture or language data, which significantly limits the effectiveness of AI training workflows. Machine translation systems require examples of the target language to function. So any meaningful use of technology must begin by solving this problem. And it finishes by saying, accelerating Bible translation in low resource contexts depends on our ability to gather that data quickly and effectively. And so it's highlighting the purpose for which we're doing this. And as we do this, there are many hurdles to overcome, many problems to address. And here's a few of them. Addressing the issues of permissions, consent, authorization. The text holders of the reference audio Bibles in an OBT project will have something to say about this. So, we're trying to have those conversations and work out those issues. Data security and protection. That's pretty well in hand already, because that cloud storage that Render uses for projects is managed by the company Couchbase. And it's already recognized as a leader and being very secure. So that seems like it's in hand. This API access is under development. The estimated time of arrival is to be determined, but it is a high priority. And so programming resources are working on this on a regular basis now. All right, so let's look at some potential uses. Obviously, training AI models on target language data, just like as mentioned in that paragraph. People can use it for linguistic analysis. People can use it for the preparation of draft 0. This is happening quite a bit. People are experimenting with this. Once they get enough data and have trained an LLM, they can produce a draft 0 of a new book if they have enough material from existing translations. And so that's a very highly desired application. And so what we're doing is giving access to section data. So if you're familiar with Render and how it handles data, it'll take the scope of work, for example, of Book of Luke, and break it down into sections. And so Luke has, I think, 79 different sections in it. And so that data can consist of the draft, the draft of that section. But the most valuable data will be the segments and the back translations of those. If you're familiar with Render, you know that it's got this style of back translation called segment back translation, where Render will automatically chop up the draft based on where it identifies a breath pause. And then it'll present each of those pieces of the draft to the back translator. And generally, we train people to do a literal word-for-word back translation of that material. And so this is producing a wonderful, rich data source for something like AI, applications for studying and understanding that language. And so that's what we're working on currently, and we feel is the top priority for the data in a Render project. And so that's coming soon, we hope. Second possible application, facilitating transcribing back translations. This is already being done. We know that APM has Arrow integrated, and FCBH is even considering building its own special tool for this. I think it's in the works, actually. And it's an offshoot of an existing tool that FCBH uses during their post-processing. That post-processing endeavor is using now a tool created by Gary Griswold, and an offshoot of that tool can provide this same sort of transcription service for back translations. And because of all that, we're considering deprecating Render's own internal transcription feature. And I think anybody who's used that is howling hallelujah at the moment. So it's just great to see things happening out there in the development in this space that are really helping to improve things. And so we're eager to see that happen. And even if it means pulling back Render's offerings on something, so be it. That's great. All right, a third possible application is actually creating the back translations for then a back translator to simply edit. We do want to always keep the human in the loop. And so as this might become a possibility, generating those back translations through an AI tool, it's going to give them back to the back translator to edit and correct. All right, fourth possible application, improving audio quality. Our audio processing department has been discovering a significant number of projects producing audio that they cannot use, which is really, really sad. The recording quality is just so low that they cannot do anything to clean it up. And so we're realizing we need to help teams do better along the way to improve their recording quality, because getting it right at the beginning is so much easier than fixing it later. So the idea is that when a new section is drafted, that can trigger an AI workflow outside of Render to check the audio quality. And if there's a problem, it can alert the team in some way, maybe to give them a fail result, and to have that notification available in the next revise step. So the team can see, maybe along with feedback from the community or the peers, they'll get a special note generated by the AI assistant that says your audio quality suffers from X, Y, or Z. And so we're dreaming of that as a new possibility that can just really ensure teams are producing recordings that FCBH can work with. The audio processing team can clean up and publish. All right, so that's all on the API access, and Lord willing, that'll come soon. And so the last thing I wanted to look at is an AI translation assistant. And again, companion application, but one of the things I've loved and been dreaming about that is actually coming to be are things like FaithBridge. This is an AI-assisted translation assistant. YWAM has the OBT helper, similar thing. designed to help teams with translation. And so there's OBT principles involved, there's Bible translations involved, there's special resources that can be called up. And again, exactly in context. It'll know what you're working on and can provide the resources needed. And Sabda's got their conversational Bible, and I've enjoyed working with this, just seeing that it's a rather mature tool as far as being very constrained to its good resources. And I just want to shout out to these guys for doing a great job. One of the things I love is at the very end of a response, it says, always pray to the Holy Spirit for wisdom in using this response. And I think that's we should always have this label on what we're doing: handle with care. It's like handling fire, right? We can do great things with fire, but we can also burn down the world. So be careful. All right, some specifications for what this AI translation assistant might look like. We want it to be conversational. So that the teams, and again, my target audience in mind is the translation team, probably low education, low literacy, low computer skill. We want them able to just converse with this thing as if it was another helper on the team. We wanted to have access to the knowledge base for Render and OBT, so even what I was creating with the Google Notebook, all of that could be accessible through this sort of assistant. The FIA resources, again, should be part of every translation project. You've got other resources in that category, should be part of every translation project. But you've also got some specially curated stuff that might be regional or cultural or favorite resources. And then having that in a RAG seems to be the best design for access to those things. And you want it to have memory. For key terms, for other translation choices, tracking those. One of the problems with AI is that its memory is only for the given session that you're in, and it won't remember things as you start a new session tomorrow. And so you want your assistant to have persistent memory and localized and offline. You want it to be something that can indeed function offline and yet have its connection to a cloud source. So we're dreaming of ours being housed in the existing Couchbase where Render's projects are. It's a current cloud service, and we use it both for Render and Vessel. But the idea is that, again, the user's experience can be localized and offline, fully functional when they don't have internet, but when they do, it can talk to the cloud version and synchronize and come up to date. That'll both save the data that the team has been saving for their language project, but it'll also bring down new resources that have been loaded there. So let me just, I'm going to try a demo, just a couple minutes because we're almost at time. But yeah, let me see if I can get into position to do this demo. So again, I'm using Sabda's Alkitab GPT, and I've loaded our Luke breakdown, FCBH Luke breakdown. And so that just chops up Luke into sections, and so section numbers. And so I'm going to talk to this assistant. All right, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Yes. Just let me know when you want to continue.
Yes, we are.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to the
no worries at all.
Assistant.
Whenever you're ready to dive back in, just let me know.
Sorry, everybody. I should have said that first. So I'll be talking to the assistant just so you can see how this works. All right. I'd like to study Luke section 12.
Baik, kita akan lanjut. Untuk Lukas bagian 12, saya akan mengambil ayat-ayat dari Lukas 4, ayat 14 sampai 30 melalui API. Mari kita lihat detailnya dulu.
Could you please converse with me in English?
Of course. I'll switch right back to English for you. Let's go ahead and look at Luke section 12 in English.
Okay, we heard a version of that, but we don't know what the word synagogue is. Can you explain that to me?
Absolutely. A synagogue is basically a Jewish house of worship and community gathering. In the time of the New Testament, it was the place where Jewish people would come together to read the scriptures, pray, and learn. So when you see Jesus in a synagogue, it means he was teaching or speaking in one of those local community worship centers.
What is the Indonesian translation for synagogue?
In Indonesian, the word synagogue is translated as synagoga. It's basically a direct loanword, so it sounds quite similar.
Ah, okay. I would like you to memorize my translation of synagogue into the Louise language.
I'm here to help. But just a quick note, I don't actually store or memorize things long term. If you have a translation for synagogue into the Louise language that you'd like me to use during our chat, just let me know and I'll use it while we're talking.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to just call it the local house of God.
Got it. So whenever we talk about a synagogue in this context, I'll just call it the local house of God for you.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Just let me know if there's anything else you need.
Okay, that's enough of that. But that gives you a flavor of what I'm dreaming, and a lot of us are dreaming about, is how we can make all of these great resources now available in complex applications like paratext and logos and so forth, so much more readily accessible to teams on the ground who might be disconnected from the internet, who might not even have a strong exegete as part of their team. It just feels like something like this is a great possibility.